Have you ever wondered if an animal knows when someone it loves has died? Across the world, elephants return to the bones of family members years after they die. Dolphin mothers have been seen carrying their lifeless babies for days. Chimpanzees refuse to leave their dead infants behind. Even crows gather around fallen members of their flock. Are these simply instincts, or could animals actually understand death? The answer may completely change the way you see the animal kingdom. Every living creature is born with one unavoidable certainty. No matter where it lives, how powerful it becomes, or how long it survives, every life eventually comes to an end. For humans, death is far more than a biological event. It shapes our memories, our emotions, our cultures, and our beliefs. We bury our loved ones, tell stories about those we have lost, and spend our entire lives searching for answers to one question that has never been fully explained. What happens when life ends? For thousands of years, people believed that only humans could truly understand death. Animals were thought to live entirely through instinct, responding only to hunger, danger, reproduction, and survival. If an animal remained beside the body of a dead companion, scientists assumed it was simply reacting to an unfamiliar smell, a motionless body, or a sudden change in its surroundings. The idea that an animal might recognize death itself was rarely taken seriously. Everything began to change when scientists stopped observing animals for days and started studying them for years. Researchers followed elephant families across the African savanna, lived among wild chimpanzees deep inside the forests of Tanzania, crossed thousands of kilometers of open ocean to study dolphins and whales, and patiently watched crows, ravens, and magpies in forests, fields, and cities. These long-term studies revealed something no one expected. Animals separated by millions of years of evolution were displaying remarkably similar behaviors when one of their own died. They paused, they investigated, they remained nearby. Some protected the body, some carried dead companions for days. Others returned to the same location months or even years later. These repeated observations forced scientists to ask a question that challenged one of biology's oldest assumptions. Were these behaviors simply automatic instincts, or were animals experiencing something far more complex? One of the strongest pieces of evidence came from the African elephant. Elephant families are led by experienced females known as matriarchs. These remarkable leaders remember migration routes stretching across hundreds of kilometers, recognize relatives after years of separation, and guide their families through droughts, changing seasons, and dangerous landscapes. Their extraordinary memory has fascinated scientists for decades, but their behavior around death revealed something even more remarkable. When an elephant dies, members of the herd rarely continue walking as if nothing happened. Instead, they slowly approach the body in complete silence. One after another, they gently explore the face, the ears, and especially the tusks with their trunks. Young elephants often stand nearby, quietly watching the older members of the family. Sometimes the herd remains beside the body for hours before finally moving away, but the story does not end there. Researchers have repeatedly watched elephants return to the exact location where a family member died months later, and in some cases even years later. Even after the body has disappeared, they carefully examine the remaining bones. Scientists have documented elephants showing particular interest in elephant skulls and tusks while paying far less attention to the bones of other animals. These observations have now been recorded across multiple elephant populations throughout Africa, making them one of the most consistent behavioral patterns ever documented in the wild. No scientist can ask an elephant what it remembers. No researcher can know exactly what it feels, yet one fact remains impossible to ignore. Elephants consistently respond to the death of another elephant differently than they respond to almost any other event in their lives. That single discovery was enough to make scientists question everything they thought they knew about animal minds. That discovery was only the beginning.
They were not isolated incidents. Similar behaviors began appearing in other highly intelligent animals, living in completely different parts of the world. In the forests of East Africa, chimpanzees were providing scientists with another extraordinary set of observations. As humanity's closest living relatives, chimpanzees share nearly 98% of our DNA. They form lifelong friendships, cooperate while hunting, comfort distressed companions, and maintain complex social relationships that can last for decades. Because of these similarities, researchers believed that if any animal could offer clues about the origins of human emotions, It would be the chimpanzee.
For more than 60 years, primatologists carefully observed wild chimpanzee communities in Tanzania and other parts of Africa. During these long-term studies, researchers noticed that the atmosphere often changed almost immediately after the death of a community member. Loud calls became quieter, playful behavior slowed or stopped completely. Close companions gathered near the body and remained there in unusual silence. Some gently touched the face or hands of the deceased. Others carefully groomed the body one final time before slowly walking away. These were not behaviors scientists had expected to witness in the wild. The most remarkable observations, however, involved mothers and their infants. On multiple documented occasions, female chimpanzees continued carrying the bodies of their dead babies for several days, and in some cases for more than a week. The mothers traveled with the infants exactly as they had before death. They protected them, they groomed them, they rested beside them, and they refused to leave them behind. To human observers, the behavior appeared deeply emotional. To scientists, however, it presented a difficult question. Were these mothers unable to recognize that their infants had died, or were they struggling to let go of one of the strongest bonds in nature? Researchers continue to debate the answer. Some believe the behavior is driven by powerful maternal instincts that do not disappear immediately after death. Others suggest that chimpanzees may gradually recognize that something irreversible has happened, but continue carrying the infant because the relationship remains deeply ingrained in their daily lives. No single explanation fully accounts for every documented observation. What scientists can say with confidence is that these behaviors have been recorded repeatedly in different chimpanzee communities over many years, making them one of the most carefully documented examples of animal responses to death. While researchers were studying chimpanzees in the forests, marine biologists were witnessing equally remarkable behavior beneath the surface of the world's oceans. Far beneath the surface of the world's oceans, where sunlight slowly fades and sound travels farther than sight, another extraordinary story was unfolding. Dolphins and whales are among the most intelligent animals on Earth. They recognize one another through unique signature calls, cooperate while hunting, teach their young, and form close social bonds that can last for decades. Their intelligence has fascinated scientists for generations, but it was their response to death that raised an entirely new set of questions.
Dolphins and whales live in close social groups, communicate through complex vocalizations, recognize individual members of their families, cooperate while hunting, and care for their young over many years. Their intelligence has been studied for decades, but their response to death revealed a side of their behavior that few scientists had expected.
When a dolphin calf dies, researchers have repeatedly observed mothers refusing to leave the body behind. Instead, they carefully balance the calf on their backs or gently push it toward the surface each time it begins to sink. Again and again and again. Each time gravity pulls the body beneath the water, the mother lifts it back toward the surface, almost as if she cannot.
Calf that can no longer survive. She risks exhaustion. She loses valuable opportunities to feed. She may even fall behind the rest of her pod. Yet, despite these costs, she continues. Then came one event that captured the attention of scientists around the world. In 2018, a female killer whale, known to researchers as Tahlequah, or J35, lost her newborn calf in the Pacific Ocean. Instead of leaving the body behind, she carried it for more than 17 days while traveling nearly 1,000 miles. Every time the calf slipped beneath the surface, Tahlequah carefully lifted it back toward the water above. Again and again, day after day, marine biologists followed her journey in silence, documenting every stage of the event. No researcher could explain exactly what she was experiencing, but nearly everyone who witnessed the event agreed on one thing. It challenged long-standing assumptions about the emotional lives of marine mammals. Scientists have since documented similar responses in several whale species. Pods have slowed their movement to remain beside dying companions. Some whales have even been observed supporting weakened individuals near the surface, helping them breathe for as long as possible. These actions provide no obvious survival advantage, yet they continue to appear in different oceans and among different species. Once again, researchers found themselves confronting the same question. Were these animals acting entirely through instinct, or was something far more complex taking place? The search for answers did not end beneath the waves. Some of the most surprising discoveries were waiting much closer to home among creatures that many people overlook every single day. Some of the most remarkable discoveries came not from elephants, chimpanzees, or whales, but from birds. For many years, scientists believed birds behaved almost entirely through instinct. Their relatively small brains were thought to limit their ability to solve complex problems or experience sophisticated emotions. Modern research has completely changed that view.
Crows, ravens, and magpies belong to a family of birds known as corvids. Yet one of their most fascinating behaviors appears when another bird dies. Researchers have repeatedly observed groups of crows gathering around the body of a fallen companion. Sometimes only a few birds arrive, other times dozens gather from the surrounding area. They call loudly, they carefully inspect the body, they watch the surrounding environment with remarkable attention, and after several minutes they leave together to many human observers. The gathering resembles a funeral. Scientists, however, offer a far more cautious explanation. Researchers believe these gatherings may help crows identify potential dangers in the environment. If a predator caused the death, every bird in the group benefits from learning where the danger exists. The gathering becomes an opportunity to observe, to remember, and ultimately to survive. Yet this explanation does not answer every observation. Not every gathering includes an obvious predator or immediate danger. Some crows remain unusually quiet while standing beside the body. Others spend several minutes carefully examining the deceased before flying away. In a small number of documented cases, magpies have even been observed placing small pieces of grass or leaves beside members of their own species that had died. Scientists remain extremely cautious when interpreting these behaviors. Placing a leaf beside another bird does not prove grief. Gathering around a dead companion does not automatically mean birds understand death. In the same way humans do, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But these observations do reveal something important. Birds notice when one of their own has died. They change their behavior. They gather. They observe. They learn from the event. And they remember. The more scientists study these remarkable birds, the more they realize that intelligence can evolve in many different forms. A brain does not have to resemble a human brain to solve problems, to build lasting relationships, or perhaps to recognize that something important has changed forever.
After decades of studying elephants, chimpanzees, whales, dolphins, and birds, scientists finally arrived at the most important question of all. What can we honestly say about whether animals truly understand death? After decades of research, one conclusion has become increasingly clear. Animals do not ignore death. Across forests, oceans, grasslands, and skies, scientists have repeatedly documented remarkably similar patterns. Elephants return to the bones of companions years after they have died. Chimpanzee mothers carry their dead infants long after life has ended. Dolphins and whales continue supporting lifeless calves despite the enormous physical cost. Crows gather around fallen members of their flock, carefully observing the scene before flying away together. These are not isolated stories. They are not myths. They are carefully documented scientific observations collected over decades by researchers around the world. But observations alone cannot reveal what an animal is thinking. This is where science becomes both fascinating and frustrating. We can record behavior, we can measure brain activity, we can compare different species. But we cannot ask an elephant what it remembers. We cannot ask a dolphin what it feels. We cannot ask a crow why it returns. Their private experiences remain hidden from us. So, can animals understand death? The most honest scientific answer is simple. We don't know. What we do